Broadcasting across the country and around the world from Sin City in Las Vegas, Nevada, welcome to 50 Shades of Great. You just joined a journey celebrating the adventures, antics, and occasional absurdities of men navigating the wild ride into middle age. Your hosts, Radio Moose and PowerSerg, together embrace the humor, wisdom, and satisfaction of living life to its fullest, no matter what the calendar says. From reliving our glory days to discovering new passions, join us as we prove that age is truly just a number and the best adventures, they're yet to come. So grab a seat, pour yourself a drink, and let's dive into laughter, camaraderie, and unapologetic fun as we dare to live on 50 Shades of Great. Welcome to another episode, 50 Shades of Great. I am your host, Moose. I'm here with my co-host and executive producer, PowerSerg. You know, every time I say PowerSerg, Serge. I'm thinking of Beverly Hills
Would
Cop.
you like a little
every time
espresso with a little lemon twist? I have gone to the mattresses so many times over that. Literally, like guys would say that, like in the 80s. I have kicked a lot of ass based on Serge in the back.
Serge.
Serge. Have you seen the new Beverly Hills movie?
No.
Fucking awesome. It's what do you call it? He's now a realtor.
Okay.
They made a really nice character out of him.
Have to check that out.
Yeah.
But appreciate you joining us today on another 50 Shades of Great. Today we're going to be talking about health, fitness, nutrition, all those big scary words, but keeps us alive.
I need it.
We both need it. We both need it.
Yeah, I mean, you have been.
I had to adjust my middies 3 times before I sat in the seat. Okay, this is TV's a lot different than radio. I'm used to the radio. I got a face for radio. I could do that, but the whole. But no, what we're talking about is nutrition and fitness, and it's kind of a scary word. And not only is it a scary word, but when I've been talking to people as we get older and as we get bigger, you know what I'm talking about. There's that whole fear of the gym. There's the whole fear of eating healthy, and
it's intimidating.
It is intimidating.
It sucks getting into the gym as a non-gym bro, right?
Yeah, gym bro.
Gym bro,
that. Yeah.
right? And going into it, and I hear all the time, "Oh, just get in there. Just get in there." You walk in there, and there's all these dudes there. There's all these women there. And I have no idea what I'm doing. Because look, jiu-jitsu, yes. Other things, yes. And except for now, I feel too fat to go into the gym, which should be the opposite of that. Right. And it's awful.
Right, it is. You almost have to have this like certain look to get in the gym. Otherwise, you're chastised. Yes. And you're made to feel almost like you're canceled out of the gym.
Yes.
You know, you don't walk in with a certain physique or a certain look or a certain suave. And then a lot of the gyms nowadays are meat markets. I don't want to go into the big gyms because they're meat markets, and the fact that, you know what, people are there looking for one thing and they're not looking at you.
Hold on a second. You can go to the gym and pick up women?
Well, you know what? After we work on this, maybe next season it'll work for you.
Lifestyle fitness?
It'll work for you.
What's the big gym here in Vegas? Lifestyle?
But look at this. Here's the other problem. When you walk into that gym, the last and final thing, it's like when I was in law enforcement and you talk to someone on the street and they're like, "Oh, I know my rights and everything." Everybody's Judge Judy, right? When you walk into the gym, that's tenfold. Everybody who's got a six pack, everybody who looks okay physique, all of a sudden are an expert. And then when you follow them, guess what? You get hurt. And sometimes you can get hurt really bad.
I'll be happy with a 4-pack of Red Bull. Like, I don't need a 6-pack. 6-pack. Now it's 8-pack.
You need the Red Bull to get by, to keep up with these guys.
Yeah, supposedly that's the do you know that like pre-workout is
like
just
C4
it's just caffeine?
Yeah, I don't know that that's true, but I do have an expert that we can talk to about certain things like that.
Let's do it.
So I want to introduce Eric Cruz. Eric Cruz is the owner, CEO of Progressive Health and Fitness in Murrieta, California, which is the Inland Empire in Los Angeles, California. He's got a master's in nutrition and exercise science from Cal State Long Beach. He's got a bachelor's in kinesiology. I don't even know what kinesiology means, but we're going to find out. Oh, movement. Okay. But that's what we're here to find out. And he's got health and fitness specialist from American College of Medicine, performance enhancement specialist from National College of Sports Medicine. He's a family man, wife, 2 kids. He balances everything, and he's a huge supporter of the Heroes for Veterans program. And he really works with a lot of people like us, men in the middle age.
Fat guys?
Fat guys who used to be something. You know, I always say, I love who I used to be.
No, I was always a fat
I want to
guy.
meet that guy.
There are many things I was known for. Fitness is not, like I said, I hate gym. I hated it when I was a cop. And my joke was, I only ran when somebody was chasing me, and you can't you can't outrun a Motorola.
That's right. Or a helicopter. So that being said, Eric Cruz, welcome to the show. Appreciate you joining us today.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
Great, man. I'm living the dream. I'm living the dream right now.
Business has thrived since COVID, I'm sure.
Yeah, man. COVID was a huge actually a blessing for us in a number of different ways. But I mean, really the biggest thing was we saw people go from 2 weeks of thinking that working out on a video screen is really cool to after 3-4 weeks realizing like, no, like people need a place to go. If they think they're going to get fit just on a screen, like this, like It's not going to happen. Right. It was great for a lot of businesses to do this kind of thing and do meetings, but working out, like people won't do it from home. That's why everybody has a treadmill at home.
Why is that? Isn't convenience a big thing? So I will tell you that the idea behind that my gym is in my house, that sounds like a great idea, right? Like what's intimidating for me, right, is getting into my car, driving over there, spending the time to get ready, right? All of that. I have to dress a certain way. I have to get there. I might have to get there at a certain time. So wouldn't the idea that if you can work out at your house, wouldn't that be better and more motivating for people than actually having to go someplace?
I'd say not less motivating. There is a certain sect of people that are really good at that because they can segment their lives that way. The biggest problem that we see is if your home is where you're doing whatever personal family things, and it's also where you're doing your normal house chores, and it's where potentially now a lot of people are doing their work, and now it's also where you're trying to get your workout, there's too many distractions. Whereas when you're going, like for us, like people coming to a personal training facility, there's nothing else that they can do. Like their phone is away from them. They can't see all the pings popping up and that kind of stuff. Like there's really nothing else to do. There's nothing to distract them. Those things are still happening in the background, but they can clear their mind from it.
You know what? That's a great point, Eric. And I want to sort of relate that to the remote work. There's a lot of studies going on right now that talk about the remote work because you're not siloed, because you don't actually physically. There's something being said for getting up, getting dressed, and going to the office.
I can't do it. I've been working remote for 15 years. I can't do it. Even when we're working on the show, I've got to be at home in my space in front of my computer.
You being a lazy ass isn't really the excuse.
Yeah, it's not an excuse.
It's not the excuse. You've just gotten comfortable.
But that's where I'm most productive. A lot of people are productive in the office. I'm useless in the office because then I want to visit, I want to chat, I have all these different distractions. What I want to do is I want to be at home, focused on what I have to do, complete my task, move on to the next task.
But there's also accountability. You're also outside of accountability. And in the gym where you actually go and physically have to show up, there's accountability there. People see what time you came and left if you're working with a trainer, and we'll talk about that. But first, Eric, what I want to know is, can you tell us and tell everybody who's watching or listening today why the health and nutrition is so important, especially as we reach 50 years old?
Man, this is something that has become more and more front and center of my mind, literally over the last year or so. I mean, just from the facility that we have, like we tend to work with people that are older, right? It tends to be 40 and older, right? That's way more common in our facility than under. And it gets more complicated is really the biggest reason why. But I will tell you, like one of the biggest things now that I'm seeing is like I've seen so many people on the other side of this that have chosen to go the other direction. So, on a personal note, like my dad was one of those guys, like he's in his early 60s now. And he worked his butt off, like worked for the same company 40 years, like getting up 4 a.m, getting home 6 p.m, 7 p.m, dealing with all the traffic, and said tomorrow, next month, next year, I'm going to do this. And like to some extent, like he's retired now. And what he thought he was going to be able to do and wanted to be able to do in retirement, he's not able to do that now. Like literally he retired thinking like I'm going to golf and I'm going to travel the country in an RV. And he hasn't been able to do that. And he's a year and a half into retirement. He's literally just dealing with his health issues.
God, that sucks.
And it's one of those things that, man, like, dude, like it hurts. And I can feel the regret in him. And that's what I don't want to see people deal with is 10 years later, like, damn it, I should have done this.
Well, that's the premise of this show. And when Serge and I were talking about creating this, and it really started in Vegas over a cocktail at a casino. And I'm like, man, I really shouldn't be drinking this right now. I really shouldn't be eating this food right now. I've gained 25 pounds this year, whatever the case may be. And then I started talking about some of the things that, I mean, it was a deep conversation, and it got to the point where we were talking about why this was so important to us. And one of the driving factors that I shared when we did our pilot show is my parents. You know, my dad, who had always wanted to save all this money to be able to pass on and create a lifestyle to where he could leave some kind of financial support for us to help support our kids. And then my mom ends up with leukemia as he extends, you know, outside of his retirement. So, you know, that's on the financial side. But then on the health side's even bigger because we don't all have that, you know, lump of money to leave or not leave to our kids. The health side, this affects everybody. And it's
a struggle. It's a struggle. It's a motivation struggle. And again, for guys my age. So here's a good question for you. What's the solution, right? So we know the problem. We know that as you get older, you know, your metabolism slows down, you get fatter, right? Your stomach gets bigger, your muscles get smaller.
What's happening?
Yeah, that's what's happening, right? We will talk about how to change some of that.
Right.
There's a lot of science now going into of how to stay younger longer, right? We'll talk about hormone therapy. I'm going to try to get a guest to talk specifically about testosterone therapy and all the various peptides and all those things.
You know what? Let's break it down easier than that. I mean, instead of going at it, Eric, give us the basics. I mean, what is the basic?
Yeah, how do you get a fat guy into the gym?
Yeah, what's a quick answer to how we address this?
Yeah, how do we get a fat guy into the gym?
You got to stop focusing on where you should be or where you were 20 years ago or whatever. Right? It's literally one of those things that if you're focused on that far way out goal, you're never going to get there because that's not going to move you to action, right? Moving you to action is just focusing on like the one thing you can do right in front of you. And in most cases, that's super simple. And that's our approach is we're just going to meet people where they're at, right? We're not going to try and lose 30 pounds in 30 days because that's not going to last, right? If you can just do one thing and build on it, then you can get there step by step. And in a lot of cases, it sucks to hear that. But if it's something that you also want to last, like if it took you 20 years to get there, it's not going to take 20 years to get back. But like if you try and get there in 20 days, it's not going to stay that way.
You know, someone told me one time, if you can F it quick, it'll F it up quicker.
Okay. So you said one thing. Okay. So you said focus on the one thing. I love it, right? Achievable goals. We talk a lot about that on the show, right? That you got to set goals because without setting goals, you're never going to get there. All right. So achievable goal, the one thing.
Achievable is a key word.
What is the one thing that you start with to get in the gym? Like what's the one goal that's achievable for anybody to motivate you to get there that you can measure against?
The environment, honestly, is one of the biggest things. If you're not already a gym person, you have to find an environment and in a system that you will continue to return to. And I have this conversation with people all the time. Especially with most people, like if they're talking about after a long day at work, if you already know that the gym or working out is uncomfortable, right? Like you're breathing hard, you're sweating, you're sore. Like those are all negative signals from your brain saying, don't do that. You're going to die. You should choose something else, right? You should just go home instead. So if you layer on top of that you don't like the place that you're going to, the way that it feels, the people that are there, the lighting, the music, all that stuff, like you're not going to show up. So if you need to nail down the environment piece, and for some people, maybe it is at home. For some people, it's going to be outdoors. For some people, it might be a big box gym or a boot camp, right? And I think that's the thing that a lot of people get lost in. It's like, oh, like what's the best way? It's like, honestly, there is no best way. Like some of it is your lifestyle. Some of it is your personality. You have to find an environment that fits, because if the environment isn't there, you won't continue it for more than the 2 weeks that you can kind of motivate yourself to mentally.
You know, that's a great point. It's kind of not to bring wine into a health and nutrition show, but it's kind of like a wine. When you're out wine tasting and you're trying to learn the difference, everyone's like, oh, yeah, well, this is a great 93 point. The wine is only as good as what you're going to enjoy drinking. And if you're not going to enjoy drinking, I don't give a shit that it's from Napa and it's 90 whatever points. It's, am I actually going to purchase this and enjoy it? And I think what Eric's saying makes total sense, because if I don't want to go to the gym, I don't feel comfortable going to the gym, I want to just go eat ice cream and to drink a tequila on my couch tonight. Mind over matter. The mind is going to take over. If you find that motivating factor, and the number one way to find motivating factors is to get rid of the negativity, get rid of the toxicity, and find a reason and a purpose to want to do that.
And Eric, what do you think the difference is between, like, for example, for me, where I was most consistent working out was when I was training jiu-jitsu, right? I enjoyed the physicality of it. And that's one of the things, like, I missed from being in law enforcement, is the physicality of the job. My day job now, I'm a consultant, so it's fairly sedentary. You know, I sit and talk on the phone most of the time. It's rare I go into the field anymore. And so I miss that physicality. And so going there and sort of competing with other guys was really motivating for me, right? Now I broke my knee and I'm just not I just physically, jiu-jitsu has a lot of sort of uncontrolled movements that I'm not quite as comfortable with. So I want to go through recovery before I get back there. So versus just simply going to work out, right? Lifting weights, whatever. What do you think of doing alternative things to get you moving? Is that the same, or do you think that everybody just needs to be on a weight program and a squat rack and those kinds of things?
No, absolutely. Like, it should be varied. So in most cases, when we're working with people, like, I only expect to see them 2 or 3 times a week, but I want them moving 4 to 6 days a week. Ideally, 1 or 2 of those days are something that they do that just happens to be active that they enjoy, right? So for some people, it's hiking. Some people, it's jujitsu. Some people, it's playing pickup basketball. Like, that's ideally where people get to, where you're not having to, like, gear yourself up to it. Like, it's just part of who you are and something that you enjoy. Like, for you, and that, I mean, I'm just like that too. Like, I actually don't love the gym. Like, I've been a gym rat for 20 years now. Like, it can get boring. So, like, having something like that it's attached to something that's mentally stimulating, that you get competition. And I think for most of us as men, like, that competition factor, especially as we age, you lose that, right? We try and gain it as spectators watching teams play.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But there is something to be said about that competitiveness in you and that competitive outlet that you get. And that's why a lot of guys like jiu-jitsu or playing, other sports, it's a risk factor is the hard part, right? Like, the risk of injury in doing those things is much higher. But
well, I'm glad you said that. And so you're talking about how when you got injured and you weren't able to do that anymore, the reason why I don't have a law enforcement career is I was injured in the line of duty. And so one of the things, even when I've found myself to enjoy the gym, when I've found myself to be at a place where I felt like I was getting results, something will happen. I'll squat too much, or, and it's usually when I'm doing it on my own, trying to get those extra few in because, we're going to the concert tonight. I want the biceps to look big, or I want whatever the case may be, right? It drives to the point where you have to be able to adjust for those modifications. So that takes me kind of to one of the things that really interests me about you and your program, Eric, is, first of all, tell us what a kinesiology is, and tell us what kind of evaluation somebody qualified, because I'm sure you could walk into a big box gym tomorrow, just like I'm a soccer referee. I'm the worst critic of a soccer referee. Like, I will find everything that guy did wrong on the field, right? Whereas even if it was semi-okay call, you walk into a big box gym, how many of these big box gym for $29 sessions are actually doing what makes you comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, it's less than 5% of trainers at big box gyms are actually qualified. And this is actually one of the things that's just mind blowing. There is no government body, there is no licensing body within the fitness industry to say, what you're doing with someone's body. And think about this. This is crazy, right? To cut someone's hair, you have to get a license, right? Right. You have to take a licensing exam and all this kind of stuff.
Don't you have to be certified to be a physical trainer?
Yeah, but you could get certified by tomorrow morning if you really wanted to.
Really?
So there's no regulation on it. I could create my own certification today and then charge you and give you a certificate that says you're progressive health and performance certified. but like there's hundreds of certifications. And that's the thing that's honestly, it sucks about the fitness industry is like, look, this is a big responsibility. Like someone saying, here's my body, change it, fix it, make it better. Like you can do some serious damage, but there's no, like, we don't have to be bonded, right? Like there's a lot of industries where you have to have a bond because if you mess something up, like that's in the insurance policy for the consumer, there isn't that.
That's so weird. You're absolutely right. In order to cut hair, you need to have a license from the state. There's no state licensure for physical trainers. And why is it? They could collect they could collect licensing fees like they do from the hair people. Like
maybe it's like the Boeing. The FAA doesn't know how to regulate airplanes, so they rely on America's biggest builder.
But that's actually an interesting point. I wonder why we don't have regulations and we don't have a state licensure for physical
What about
trainers.
like American Council on Exercise or some of these certifications that you see out there that some of the trainers are boasting?
Yeah, what a real good point.
And what are some real certifications that people can look for?
Tell me what a listener can look for in a physical trainer that will show them that the physical trainer is actually somebody legitimate.
Yeah. So there's really like 3 or 4 like big boys when it comes to certification, right? There are some certification agencies or organizations that are definitely like more like esteemed and in higher regard. National Academy of Sports Medicine is one of the most common ones. They're definitely more practical. The American College of Sports Medicine is a little more clinical, so they tend to be focused more on like a lot of the health issues. The ACE, like you mentioned, Bobby, is a pretty common one. They tend to be a little bit more on like group fitness, but pretty good there. And then there's another organization that does the strength and conditioning side, the National Strength and Conditioning Association. They're more like for your strength coaches that would be training at like your professional and collegiate levels of sports and that kind of thing. Like those are the big 4: NSCA, NASM, ACSM, and ACE.
I mean, that's good. And those are additions to what needs to be done. I did a lot of research because of my injuries, and I actually sought out. I mean, I'm joking when I say I don't know what a kinesiologist is, but for those people, can you explain why someone who's evaluating your movement and can take into consider there's no one size fits all when it comes to fitness. You're going to get hurt. It's not if you're going to get hurt. You go in there and you start watching people, and we're all built differently. We've all had different, many of us were athletic growing up. And Eric, when you were saying about, that's my hindrance.
I was.
You hit my hindrance on the nail on the head.
I was not athletic when I was growing up, and I didn't work out. I mean, unfortunately, if I would have had sort of a culture of fitness, then it would be easier for me to get back. I've never been part of that.
I want too much too quick.
Yeah.
And when I don't see results, I give up. And then I get a little a little twist in the ankle or the back starts hurting. I'm like, oh shit, I'm done. Oh God, another surgery. And so I give up and I walk away. And then what I try to do is I try to slowly do it on my own. So I'm downloading I have 15 apps on my phone.
Have you ever tried like Pilates or?
I did yoga for a little bit, but I'm not real flexible.
You know what Pilates is all about?
I don't know. No.
Research Joseph Pilates, all about sex.
There you go. Sergio the Sex Man.
Joseph Pilates.
Somehow you always tie it back. But you know what? I'm glad you did, though. We'll finish that thought is kinesiology, right? And then I want to talk about sex because you know what? Sex, men's sexual health is very important, and fitness does play a huge role in that, as does nutrition.
Absolutely.
So let's get to that. Don't let me get away from that. But Eric, if you can finish kind of, why is it so important to have someone who actually knows what they're doing evaluate you? What kind of injuries? What are some of the consequences for someone who says, I want to do this, but I'm going to watch a YouTube video. I'm going to go in the gym and just do it on my own.
Yeah. And you said it, like we're all going to get injured at some point. And if you don't pay attention to what those areas are likely to be, then it's going to happen sooner and more frequently, right? So before we do any movement with anybody, as far as like a workout goes, like we're evaluating. So a kinesiologist by definition is someone who practices the science of movement, right? So we understand the way that the human body is supposed to move and the way it's not supposed to move. And when we take you through certain movement patterns, we know what's going on if it's not right. And the reality is almost every injury or ache and pain is not due to just one area. So you have to look at the body as a whole to understand, like, it's really common to see shoulder issues be rooted in your hip or in your ribs or in your breathing,
Really?
right? Like same thing, like low back pain is one of those that is notorious for actually having huge roots in like your ankle. So it's one of those things that if you're not able to identify like the whole body and understand like when someone's moving, what all is happening there, like you're running into these walls over and over, right?
Really?
The common thing is
That's
like,
so
I hurt
true.
my back and then I'm, put a brace on it. And like,
Well,
that's not actually what's
but
happening.
the backs is because of the ankle. Interesting. That's fascinating.
Well,
I didn't know. I
no,
always think that when my knee hurts is because of my knee, but I guess it could be
You
from
know what?
something else.
And I can attest to that because I had a real bad case of neuropathy going on, and it happens a lot to cops and people with
Neuropathy.
It's when you get tingling and numbness in your feet, and you can't. And they were putting me on these medications and trying to treat me with different prescriptions, and sending me to physical therapy. That clearly, these physical therapy was not even a physical therapist, and it was one of these box places. And then I did go into, in fact, it's Eric's gym, and one of his guys, Mark, there found that there's a place in my hip called piriformis. And the piriformis is where, I'm going to totally screw this up, Eric, but correct me if I get it right. But that's where all the nerves that go from your spinal cord down into your legs all come together. And what happens is I have either a very small, well, I am Irish. I do have a very small piriformis canal where these go into. But what happened was they were really working that. And
This is a family show. Is your piriformis canal?
my piriformis, my small piriformis. How's your piriformis?
Big.
But I tell you what,
It might not be long, but it's very wide.
But by doing that and just by every day, in fact, he ended up getting me a lacrosse ball. And so what I do is against a wall, I rub a lacrosse ball. And dude, don't get me wrong, it hurts like a son of a bitch. But I tell you what, every single day, at least 50% of the neuropathy is gone for the rest of the day just by doing that one technique. So, I mean, it kind of takes us into now, the big social media, right? Social media. Oh, here's the one pill. What's that shot? I'm Presic or
Ozempic.
Ozempic, yeah.
I don't even know. So
Appetite suppressor. I mean, Ozempic is good. Like it's a tool.
it's a tool,
right? It
but
makes
it's not
you stop.
Well, if you read the blogs and you look at what people are doing, you watch TikTok, people are like, 30 days, I'm going to lose 20 pounds because I'm taking Ozempic.
No.
Yeah, or whatever the hell.
It'll just make you eat. Ozempic will make you eat less, and eating less is great. It's for
blood
diabetic.
sugar.
But it's great that you eat less. But that's not physical fitness.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is if you're doing it for that reason, if you're a diabetic and you're doing it for that reason, that's perfect, right? But if you're doing it because you're lazy, you're going to put it all back on because you haven't changed your mindset. What you've done is you physically changed something, but you haven't changed your mindset. I'll tell you what, we look at this. We're going back to men's sexual health now. Just right off the bat. Who's making all this money? Well, turn on NASCAR, Viagra, these big pharmaceutical companies where it's performance enhancing drugs that most men that take don't need. Most men that take don't need. Whether we're finding now about testosterone, and go back to the expert, Eric, talk to us. What's going on with the nutrition and the exercise regarding men's sexual health?
Yeah, man, dude. And we can spend a whole podcast talking about Ozempic and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting with the sexual health because it's a two-way street. Having sex will keep you young. But if you're not feeling young, if you're not physically capable, you're going to have less sex, right? And there's so much when it comes to, the nutrition side, I would say is actually less important when it comes to the sex side. Like say Viagra, right? Viagra primarily is a vasodilator, right? It's literally just opening up your blood vessels.
And is that good?
You can do that naturally with exercise.
But is that good or bad? Opening up. So exercise naturally opens up blood vessels.
What are the potential harms of that? What are the consequences? What are potential consequences of that? Are there any negative effects to opening that up?
Well, you can have low blood pressure by doing that, right? I think the biggest problem with say taking something like that is you're forcing your body into something that it's not prepared to do, right? When you're doing it through exercise, it's adapting and learning to open and close when you're calling on it, right? Like our bodies are built for stress in high amounts for short periods of time. That's what the whole point of exercising, say like in a gym and that kind of stuff is designed for, is like you're giving your body a bout of stress so that it learns to adapt to that. When you're forcing your body artificially into that stressful state without all the other things that are happening to your muscles and your blood vessels and your brain, like then we start to have problems, because then you have all these irregularities, right? Your body says, oh, wait, when am I actually supposed to open the blood vessels up? I thought I'm only supposed to do that when I'm like physically having to do something, but now you're telling me to do it and I'm not in that state. So when do I do it now?
So it's another Band-Aid to a bigger problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really the point. It's like, dude, you could get off, like if someone's having to use Viagra, like, dude, if you were working out, you don't have to do anything crazy. Like just start exercising, do a high bout for like 5 minutes and you will see a difference. Like, and I'll tell you personally, like I'm 35. I notice a difference in my sex life when I'm in my routine and when I'm not.
But I will tell you, I will swear, you got to check your testosterone levels. As we get older, testosterone goes down. We're gonna have an expert talk about that. I'm gonna find somebody who specializes in testosterone talk about that. But I will tell you, I can't speak for any of the Viagras or any of that stuff. But I can tell you that increasing your testosterone in your body there's a reason it's a performance enhancing drug. There's a reason why you can't compete while you're on TRT, right? There's a reason why weightlifters take TRT, because it is the super pill. I mean, I'm open about it. I started TRT about 2 months ago, and the way I feel about myself, everything from mood to energy to sleep to sexual health, right? Yep. I don't think I was like this when I was 20.
But I just had my testosterone checked and my numbers are fine, yet I still...
Well, what's fine? That's a big... We'll talk about it on a different show, but what's fine? 500 is pretty good for a guy who's almost 50, right?
Well, I don't want to derail from this here and make this a testosterone show. But
right, but the reality is
one of the
500 is going to be different than the way you're going to feel at 900.
But what I'm trying to say is, though, that's not the end-all, be-all.
It's not. No, none of it is
end-all,
be-all.
It's one of many things that we're talking about here. So
what? So what are the? What's an exercise? What is something that if somebody's starting out, what's the one big thing that you can tell them, like, do this?
Yeah, start today. In Eric Cruz's words of wisdom, what should someone do after the show?
Lift heavy things, and heavy is relative, right? Lift heavy things, get your heart rate up, and sleep.
Interesting.
Those three things.
Sleep. Interesting.
Yeah, and that's where I think a lot of us fall off right now.
Way overlooked. The sleep, man.
And now sleep contributes to a lot of injuries in the gym too, because there's that fatigue factor, but you want to keep up. Tell me about over-exercising.
Yeah, sleep in the gym? That doesn't make sense. No.
Tell me about over-exercising.
Over-exercising from like too often, too long, too hard?
Yeah, so
Bobby, that's our problem. That's what we have to be concerned about. My concern is I don't want to go to the gym because I don't want to over-exercise.
But once you get motivated, at what point, and this is what I've done, and I bring this up because this was a big problem for me, is I got my initial evaluation.
Push yourself harder.
And it was great because my evaluation was everybody who, for me, it was the college. Because I don't know what the certifications are. I mean, I know what ACE. I'm actually ACE certified from like 1997, if you can believe that. But what else? Like, what goes into the study? And then so when you looked at some of these courses, and I'm like, the fact that it took me 6 months to get it or whatever, but that's nothing. I mean, I still don't know. My physiology exam says a hip bone's connected to
why did you get ACE certified?
Well, because I wanted to be a personal trainer.
Interesting.
Because I enjoyed working with people, and I was in law enforcement at the time.
Things you never knew about your co-host.
Right, exactly. But it didn't teach me about why. Like, it didn't teach me about it. So that's why I've looked into, when I sought out Eric, I looked at the fact that his entire supervisory staff all have master's degrees in these exercise science and stuff. That's scientific. That's proven. That's a science degree in something.
And where's your gym? Where are you physically located?
We're in Marietta, California. So we're about an hour north of San Diego.
So Riverside County, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Inland Empire.
So,
tell us about that. Tell us about what kind of staff you have. Tell us about your gym, and tell us why it's unique from other programs out there.
So, you know what's funny? Like when I saw some of the stuff that you guys wanted to talk about, especially it's like not being a gym bro, I joke with a lot of people, like we're the gym for people that don't like the gym.
I like it.
And
I
there's a
like
lot
it.
of good reasons why people don't like the gym. And like small kind of side story here, there was a period in my career where I was in between opening my own place and where I'd previously worked, where I was just going to people's houses. So I didn't have a gym that I was working out. It's like, all right, fine, I'll just get a membership at, you know, Crunch or LA Fitness or whatever. I had like 4 different memberships because I was so annoyed going to these gyms. And I've lived in a gym since I was 13 years old. I ended up picking a YMCA because there was no one there.
Wow.
So like I'm in the same boat. Like I like to work out, but like I don't like the gym. And that's really what I've learned, honestly, about like the people that we've worked with. Like the biggest reason, honestly, why a lot of people come to us is they don't like the way it feels walking into a gym. So like we've literally designed our whole thing about that. Like you walk into our gym and you see normal people, you know?
No, it's awful. Awful. I had so we lived in Hollywood in the Camden Apartments, which is above Equinox. It's literally above Equinox. We were 7 stories above where I would walk in. And I had an Equinox membership, right? It's $180 per person. I never went because I would go in there, I would try to take a class, and she was like, oh, well, this is for serious yoga people. I tried to take a spin class, and I was like 5 minutes in, I was like, okay, this is not going to work out for me, right? And it just was intimidating, and I hated everything about it, and I paid for that membership for a year and went in there maybe 5 times the entire time.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I had the 24-hour fitness. I had the lifetime membership at 24-hour fitness. It was like literally $24 a year for me to. Well, they had me keep going because they knew I wasn't going to go, and so they always even reminded me because if you don't make that one payment, they'll even remind me, hey, make sure you do that because that's part of the marketing and that's part of. But going back to it, Eric, you've got a situation where you even have a physical therapist on your staff to address special cases that come in. You limit the amount of people that are allowed in the gym at one time, and then you offer a hybrid of services. And this is why I found this so interesting and so beneficial is there's a list, like a combo list or all in cart. You go in there, you've got X, Y, and Z wrong with you. And X, Y, and Z can just be motivation. Motivation, can't get up, can't do it. You can go from a one-on-one every day to what did you call the group? What was the
semi-private? Yeah,
semi-private, where there's one instructor with 2 or 3 people, kind of bouncing between the 3, get you started, make sure your form's right, and that's my biggest. So I've been injured twice severely in gyms over the years because I was doing something and I was doing it well the wrong way.
So bad form results in injuries, right? That's the sort of the idea. So fixing your form. Is there anything like you can do from home to fix your form? Like any of the VRs, any of the stuff that you do off your phones or on a computer? Does any of that work to improve your form, or did you have to be in the gym?
I haven't seen anything VR wise. Like we'll do like a Google Meet or a Zoom, session. We have people that had moved during COVID and they've continued to do virtual training sessions like this with us. So, at least we get eyes on it. It's not the same thing, but at least we can able see and instruct. And that's the nice thing about it is, and that's honestly like why semi-private is is really like our bread and butter is it's intensive coaching, making sure that someone is doing the right thing, the right way at the right time, but it's not babysitting and rep counting. Right. And that's the thing that's really cool that I've had, several members over the years tell me like a couple of things that they like about just the facility in itself is like they see normal people. Right. So like you don't just walk in and see bodybuilders or just athletes or whatever. But on the other side, because everybody that's coming to us is coming for personal training of some kind, literally everybody in there is saying, I don't know what I'm doing. That's why I have someone to help me. So literally just by that system alone, there's no judgment of like, oh, someone's looking around me like, oh gosh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Like you're paying for this too, buddy. Like you're here. And that's the nice thing. Like everybody comes in with that mindset. It's like, we have professional athletes that come in like, I don't know what I'm doing here though. Like, yeah, I'm fit, but I need help. Right. And everybody coming in with that mindset makes a big difference.
So how would you find? So like I said, I live in Lake Las Vegas, and which is a community about 30 minutes from the Strip in Las Vegas. So if I wanted to find a gym that I would feel comfortable with, how would somebody start to? What am I looking for to evaluate a gym as a non-gym bro?
Yeah. Okay. So first thing, you want to see some sort of credentials. I will say credentials aren't the end all be all, right? Like we've had people that have applied that have a master's degree that still have no business telling people what to do in the gym. So that's one baseline thing. The second thing is if the first time you walk in there and they say, "Hey, let's go work out," and they try and crush you, that's a major red flag. They don't know your body yet. They have no business saying, "Hey, let's get after it." And honestly, that's what a lot of like boot camps and big box gyms, that's their business model is come get them in the first time, crush them so they feel like, "Oh my gosh, I must really need this." And then they and more or less like guilt them into signing up. There's actually one, I think I'm not sure how close they are to you guys. There's one franchise that's relatively new called Alloy in the Vegas area. I think they've got 2 locations somewhere in there.
Alloy?
That they run a similar system. Alloy.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's useful. So I really like. So I'm all about action and so what you said earlier is lift heavy things. Well, it was lift heavy things.
What's the purpose for lifting the heavy things? Right. Just to get the heart rate up?
Well, to be
now, lifting heavy things is high amount of stress. You're going to stimulate muscle growth. You're going to stimulate the hormones as far as testosterone in particular. That's going to be a big one. And then move into the cardiovascular side, get your heart rate up. Because those, in most cases, those are 2 separate styles or phases of working out. I sweat when
I pick up my burrito.
One's more HIIT and one's more lifting heavier strength training.
Later in the season, we're going to do
California burrito. I sweat as I put that to my mouth.
We're going to do a cocktail class. Some of those bottles are really heavy, so the
bottles are heavy. We might sweat as we do that. So, Eric, there's something else. A lot of our demographic of listeners are military and law enforcement. Tell us about what you've done for the military community, and some of those people that are veterans out there don't even know certain benefits that they have. Can you talk a little to that?
Yeah, a lot of guys don't understand how many resources they have out there, and we've partnered for about 5 years now with a nonprofit called Heroes Movement. They're a nationwide nonprofit. We're just like to say their local chapter, but they partner with gyms all over the country to either subsidize or completely free help vets get access to fitness and rehabilitation. And it looks a lot of different ways, right? For, the 3 key things that we talk about is dealing with PTSD, chronic pain, and say brain or spinal cord injuries, concussions in a lot of cases. And the aspects of that are, say, the mental side, like vets that are dealing with the mental side of things, they need to be around other vets and they need to be active. They need that community piece because that's what they're used to. They're used to being around other guys doing things. And if you lose that, like it's a mess for really just understanding who you are. And then they're all injured. So over the last 5 years, we've helped over 200 vets. We've donated about $150,000 worth of services. And I mean, it's amazing to see.
That's awesome.
The kind of, yeah, man, it's so cool. It's so cool.
There's a lot of things. So like PTSD is a serious problem, both in law enforcement, and there's a lot of things. And in next couple of weeks, we're going to have a dating coach on, a woman named Jamie Date. And one of the things that she's doing to help PTSD is she calls it like going inside, and she's doing retreats with hallucinogenic mushrooms to help PTSD. And I've been reading a little bit on the research. It's been incredible. Working out, I'll tell you, as a cop, one of the things that I learned is when you really stress, drink less, work out more.
Absolutely.
That solves a lot of problems.
That's been my problem is on the drinking side. But I mean, going back to what you were talking about, when the vets are together there and you put them in the groups, are you seeing better results because of that camaraderie and the ability to relate to one another in that setting?
Absolutely. And here's the cool thing, right? It's just like actually a lot of other people. Now they have that natural accountability built in. They don't think of it that way, but they're not going to let their boy down. So if their boy's saying, "Hey, we got a 6 a.m. We're going to be there together. They're not going to let their boy down and not show up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If nothing else to let down their guy.
Right.
And it feels
then, of
familiar.
Course, by them showing up, they get all the benefits of being there.
It does feel familiar,
It
right?
feels familiar.
It feels familiar because when you're in a group and you're with other guys who share your experience, like we've been through the academy, it feels like you're back in the academy. So I think that's a very good
you know
point.
what? And like with the law enforcement officers and military, God, Eric, you said it right on. If you're law enforcement, if you were infantry name the armed force, but if you were an infantry guy,
Air Force doesn't have infantry, but
but if you were an infantry guy or you were a cop or deputy working a radio car, you are injured. You can't tell me I've never met somebody who's not injured, whether it's the way you twisted in and out of a car, how you sat in a helicopter, being down in the trench, carrying the gear, just having, the rucksack on, just having that gun belt, now we're finding out, no wonder every cop's got a bad back because we've been wearing how many pounds around our waist for all these years. And now we've gone to the over the shoulder, which seems to be doing better as far as
the vest.
The vest style. But no, that's interesting. Obviously it speaks to a large demographic of the group that we're involved with, our friends and the community at large here. So,
call to action. What are we
going to do? Every show, Eric, we want to talk about something. We have a topic. We want an expert or some sort of expert. Sometimes we're the expert. We want to talk about why it's a problem and what needs to be done. But then at the end, we always have a call to action. So we're gonna go around the room and have a call to action on what all of us are going to do moving forward.
You know what I think we should do? I don't know if you. And this is we didn't plan this. This is really a. Should we do a little weight loss, muscle gain competition between the two of us?
Like a Biggest Loser kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that might be good.
Eric, do you have one of those like charts because obviously I'm going to drop a lot more pounds than you. But do you have one of those charts where we can tell? Oh, you have a machine. Tell us about that machine that like measures.
And again, we swear this is not a planned thing.
No. This is ad lib. Right. So Sergio just called an audible here. So what's that machine? Tell me about that machine. The machine that where you stand on it and it tells you like how you're doing fitness wise.
Yep. The InBody machine. So it's a body composition scanner. It's a really fancy scale. So it would level the playing field from someone who's starting at 100 pounds and someone that's starting at 300 pounds and showing the type of improvement that they're doing. The best metric that we would track on there would probably be body fat percentage, but there's so many different metrics that we can track just by standing on a little platform and holding handles for 45 seconds.
Okay. And then you can measure
can track body fat percentage. We can track muscle mass, body fat itself. We can track some inflammation measures.
So you'll be our referee on this, right?
Keep us honest.
You'll keep us honest, and you'll just whatever standard you think is appropriate. You'll say who's gained the most benefit, right? This is muscle mass. This isn't just we're losing pounds, right? Because I think, frankly, I can probably lose more fat than you, right? Or I can lose more muscle, right? And
but overall percentage, who's healthier?
Fitness, right? And then after the 21 seasons that we have, we're gonna have Eric back. He's gonna give us our results. I just need to find a place in Vegas, either come out to California or find a place in Vegas that has the same measurements.
Let's do this. Let's go out to Eric's.
Let's go
out to Eric's gym. Fair. Let's go out to LA. $79 on Southwest.
That's it.
Let's go out there. Let's go back over there and let's do a full evaluation. I mean, bust out the measuring tape where you can. What's the what?
So what's the bet?
Well, I'm going to get there. But the little measuring tape though, where we got to take off the shirt and you go around the. Yeah, right.
Show the guns.
Yeah, show the guns, but also the middies.
So embarrassing.
You got to see how big the middies are. You got to see how big the derriere is, and let's do it. What do you think, Eric? You down?
All right, I'm in, man. I'm in. You let me know.
And I'll be working out primarily at home, right? So I'm going to talk to Eric about what kind of exercise I can do while I'm in the house, right? What kind of exercises we can do with just doing calisthenics.
But we also have access to a semi-home gym.
Oh, downstairs? Yeah, we can. But I really want to focus on what I can do with simply calisthenics and things around the house. So I think for me, not having to go someplace, maybe going downstairs won't be bad because I don't think there's anybody. I've never seen the lights on down there.
Okay.
So in the building. Yeah.
Whatever.
And then you can go work out. You can go work out at Eric's gym. Is this close to your place?
I'm living here though. You forgetting this?
Yeah, but
I just moved here.
No, but you also go back
Every once in a while, yeah, for the kid. But yeah, to that point is let's go ahead and set that up. So that'll be the call to action for all of us. My call to action that I want to take on personally is the reason why I stopped going to the gym was one of those I started traveling for a living. So the last 2 years, I'm now traveling 7, even though I don't even know where I live, right? I live on an A321, seat 8 Charlie. I always joke about that. Where's your office at? I'm like, an Airbus 321 8 Charlie. And they're like, that's an airplane seat. Yeah, that's where I live. But I have 92 nights already on my Bonvoy account this year. It's ridiculous. But what my call to action is going to be is I want to get in with you, Eric. I'm going to come out there. I want to get in with you. I want to get reevaluated. And I just don't know if this is possible. Are you able to put me on a program and have some kind of kit I can take with me to where I can only check in with you once in a while and stay straight on that sort of program?
Absolutely. And that's one of the big tools. Again, the COVID forced us to develop digital tools. So, and I know this is one of the things that's tough too when you're traveling. Like, it's having to think about what you're going to do when you're in a new environment over and over and over and over again, right? It's like making sure that it's something that you can continually do without having to think about it, because that will change the energy that you think you're going to spend mentally on it. So we'll put something together for you.
Okay. So I like that. Now, unfortunately, we're running out of time. We didn't get a chance to get to nutrition, but I actually think it's a good natural segue to not be at nutrition.
But the reality is I'm not going to do nutrition.
The bottom line is,
I'm 53 years old. I eat what I fucking eat.
And if you're like this guy, you need the next show when we talk about nutrition, because we're going to tell you why it's not as hard as you think. And I think, Eric, that'd be a good segue to talk to you again. We'll talk to you again in the middle of our journey about where we can modify that nutrition, because nutrition does play a big role. There's a lot of bad stuff out there. Now we're finding a lot about glutens. We're finding a lot about trans fats. We're finding a lot about these things that have been in food for a long time that are actually causing allergies or causing. I want to know what clean eating is.
Sure. But what's the bet? Like, what are we betting?
Oh, the bet. Let's let Eric, what do you think our bet should be on?
I got one. Dinner of our choice, because I know you're a picky eater.
Is it going to be a clean eating, nutritional dinner?
Well, it can be. This is the thing. You have to go. It's whoever you have to go and buy the other guy dinner of the winner's choice.
Okay. So
the loser buys dinner, but dinner is the choice. So for me, like for whatever, like it could be a steakhouse, because I'm not a big steak eater, right? And you like that kind of thing. So if I lose, I have to take you out for steak. And then if you lose, I'll have to come up with some strategy where you have to go.
Okay.
It'll be some California.
So, can I interject here?
Yeah. What's up?
I think that's too enjoyable for the loser. I think there needs to be more at stake for the loser.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's interesting. Well, we'll come up with
you have an idea? Something on your mind?
Dinner. I'll lose the bet so I can take you out to dinner.
Well, what?
No, but do you have something on your mind? But it'll be the kind of dinner that the loser chooses, right? So it'll be something that the winner does not enjoy.
What's your idea? What do you think the bet should be?
What do you think we should bet?
I think it should be some sort of punishment. Like, I mean, I've seen a lot of funny ones with like fantasy football, right? Where the guy has to do something stupid, or he has to wear some shirt, or like.
Yeah, you go.
What are your guys like rivalry type things?
You lose, you have to wear a Raider shirt.
Oh my! For a month. I hate you right now, Eric.
For a month, that's great.
Well, no, I'm going to win. Damn it!
It's great. Raiders gear for a month.
Okay.
No Chargers gear. Raiders gear for a month.
Well, I'm not going to go political. I was going to have something on you that was going to be. I'm going to stay out of politics. There's going to be a certain party. There's going to be a certain political party shirt that PowerSerg is going to have to wear
for a month.
Done. Are we good?
We're shaking on
Eric's the referee.
That's it. That's what we're doing. Eric is the referee.
All right. Well, this has been a great time, Eric. I appreciate you coming on the show. We're looking forward to coming out to Los Angeles and going out to the Inland Empire and taking a tour around the gym, having a live show with Sergio and I getting checked out, and we'll start this journey towards somebody's destruction. I like this a lot better than the dinner. I tell you that much.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show. It'll be great. We'll have you more. We'll get some content from you. We'll throw it to our social medias.
Absolutely.
Right. We'll get it on our website to talk about practice. Maybe we'll put a couple of reels together specifically on practical steps people can do to get fitter. As you're hitting 50 Shades of Great, Dare to Live. As you're getting to 50, get your ass in the gym and let's get healthier.
And if it's not in the gym, just get your ass moving.
Yeah.
Pick up something heavy, walk.
Lift heavy weights, get your heart rate up, and sleep.
There you go. You heard it here. We're talking about how to have your best life as you approach, get to, and past 50. 50 Shades of Great, Dare to Live. We're going to have the best day of our life today. You go have yours. Have a great day.
The show doesn't stop there. Join the movement on IG, 50 Shades of _great, or go to our website, 50shadesofgreat.com.